It's my pleasure also to introduce to you to Lynn Connaway. She is a senior research scientist at OCLC, so she is a happy lady because she has as a boss a Lord Condemnse. That is one of my idols, not the unique one, but one. I strongly recommend to read or to browse the Revisiting Ranganathan that she recently prepared for OCLC, not only Lynn, but also Lynn played an important role in this publication. It's a publication that collects a lot of things, but I think my point is interesting because it focused the research in the professional world. So sorry, I am a practitioner, and for me it's important not only to have data, but also to have data and conclusions and that, but to be able to apply. My last meeting with Lynn was in the Güell Park. I strongly recommend, if you have time this holiday, the foreign people. We had a nice journey in the Güell Park. I recommend to go there by taxi, and after that to go down to the city by foot. And we found a very interesting shops. Well, Lynn thought that the shops of the Verdi Street are very interesting. She enjoyed it a lot. Lynn.
Start. Thank you for the introduction, Luis. He's a great tour guide and spokesperson for Barcelona. When I was asked to speak about the challenges of LIS research, I thought that was negative. And there are challenges, but I am truly an optimist in many ways. And so I want to start with this quote that has been attributed to Henry Kissinger. And he said, "A diamond is a chunk of coal made good under pressure." And so I keep thinking that maybe we have a lot of coal when we're looking at our research, but maybe we can change that and come up with some diamonds. And they won't all be diamonds. Some of the challenges, and this is nothing new. You've heard this, you heard a lot of this yesterday and again this morning. Reduced funding opportunities. Yesterday that came out. We used to have much more funding. It's sort of stabilized now. This whole scholarly value, the theoretical framework, we still have that dichotomy between the academics, the researchers, and the practitioners. But without this theoretical framework, we really can't come up with ideas for practice. And so it still is very important. Again, the practical implications. And Luis alluded to that with the Ranganathan report that we did. We took the scholarly research and tried to make it fit into our practical world. And that's not always accepted within the academy, and it's not easy to do. And so that's something else that I think we have issues with. What came out again has been the weak relationships with other disciplines. I think it may be getting better, but that's still another challenge. The lack of connection with previous research. We seem to not want to build on the research that others have done. And I think that the biggest issues with that come out, and Blaise mentioned this yesterday, with the information behavior and user studies. And I like to talk about, it's how we done it well type thing, and not building on what others have done. So we have this cohesive body of knowledge. Also, the limited communication of research and outputs. Things are different now. We do have webinars, we have blogs, other social media. I know people have been tweeting throughout this conference. So there are different ways of getting this research out. However, again, some of these are not acceptable within the academy. And so we are doing some of that, we're not publishing in some of the open access journals. So there are many things that I think are very difficult for us to come up with. And then there's this whole inconsistency of the quality. So what do you think the most widely used research methods are? Anyone? Surveys, because anyone can develop a survey, right? What do you think is next? Interviews. That's easy. You sit down and talk to people. And I think that's a great misconception. So I went back and looked at some of the papers, and I did not do the research myself. I went back and looked what others have done. And you'll see I highlighted in red the survey. And then there's also surveys on the public. So you have surveys on equipment, on libraries, and then surveys on the public. Then you'll see historical methodologies. That one surprised me because it hasn't been coming up a lot in the newer studies. However, how are they defining these? And I have another issue with that. We're not defining even the methods. I like to look at data collection methods and data analysis methods. And I think we push them together, we mash them up, and we're not looking at them separately. And I think that also confuses some of this. And then information system design and that theoretical analytical aspect. Now, this was a study done by Julian, Pekowski, and Reed in 2011, and they looked at the full text that was indexed in the library literature and information science from 1999 to 2008. And again, the questionnaire was the most used, and then the interview method followed. Nearly a third of the studies that they looked at used the mixed method. And the questionnaires and interviews, they dropped in number since this group did a 1998 study, but they still ranked first and second. This is a study by Chu, and Chu looked at several different journals, and these are the statistics for the Journal of Documentation from 2001 to 2010. The N was 367. I should have mentioned that the sample, the N for this previous study was 749. So we're looking at 367. You see the theoretical approach again, content analysis, which we often, or most often used with some type of qualitative data collection method, the questionnaire, the experiment, and the interview. JASIST, this N is 554, and this is from 2001 to 2010. And again, the experiment, bibliometrics came up, the questionnaire, again, content analysis, which I would look at as more as the qualitative data analysis method, and then the theoretical approach. These were in library and information science research, 2001 through 2010. The N for this was 241. Again, you have the content analysis, the questionnaire, the interview, the theoretical approach, and then the experiment. And Journal of Academic Librarianship, 2004 to 2013, questionnaire, look at that, that was 47.6%. Now, this is a journal that, and Cristobal mentioned this today, that many of the academic librarians in the US need to publish, and so this is one of the journals where they often will publish. Content analysis, and then the semi-structured interviews. This study was done by Elke, who's here with us and will talk to us later, and this was in 2014. And she was looking at the JASIST information research from 2012, 2013, JDoc, and iConference proceedings 2013 and 2014 for information behavior studies. So it's not the overall. And again, she looked at the mixed methods, and Elke's N was 155. And so 45% used mixed methods, and only 7% used more than two different methods. Interviews, 51, surveys, 34, and again, our content analysis. So mixed methods. This is information that I got from Michelle Kasmer, and we asked her to write something exciting about mixed methods for our research methods for library and information science, the book that's coming out in 2016, if we ever finish it. And she wrote this small piece, and I thought it was great because she made mixed methods come alive. And she kept saying that very few people can do mixed methods research alone. And she said that you need to embrace this cooperative research. And each person needs to understand all the methods being used. And you need to collaborate and give equal attention to all stages of the research process. And rather than quantitative findings followed by a few attractive quotes from the qualitative data organized according to themes, the findings from mixed methods should be iterative and mutually informing. And so I think that's something we should be thinking about as well. The data, some of the other challenges are the data collection and analysis, the costs. It is not inexpensive to do research. And as I said, the funding has stabilized. There maybe aren't as many sources as we would want. So you have these costs, you have some of the biases, the inaccuracies, some of them, the data analysis are incomplete. Sampling seems to be a big problem. When I look at some of the studies, what is the sampling frame? You have massive amounts of data, especially if you're looking at logs, you're doing any of the analytics, the web analytics. You have a lot of data to process. And things change, technologies change. We had a lot of our data on a wiki. I just was on email last night trying to figure out how we can get that data off of that wiki. So there are issues. I like this quote from Carlton Hughes. The creative process is not like a situation where you get struck by a single lightning bolt. You have ongoing discoveries. There are ongoing creative revelations. Yes, it's really helpful to be marching toward a specific destination, but along the way, you must allow yourself room for your ideas to blossom, take root, and grow. Basically, it takes time, and not everything will work. And that's one of the biggest things that I have to make our research assistants and new researchers understand. Sometimes we fail, but that's okay, as long as we learn from our failures and let others know. And so I would like to say that they're not failures, but opportunities for us for engagement with others, with colleagues, and for progress for the profession. Thank you.